Hello students, welcome to the class of biomolecules and metabolism. Today we will discuss on water, why water is called universal solvent and what are the amazing facts about the water. Here are the prerequisite, why water is called medium of life, unusual properties of water. Water is the medium for bioactivity and water and biomolecules relationship we will. So, during this class, today we will cover the polar nature of water, important properties of water, biochemical nature of water, water and biomolecules, and few amazing facts of water. So here we are going to represent one small video. Here you can see this red symbol represents oxygen, and here white it represents hydrogen, and it creates here hydrogen bonding in between this hydrogen atom and this oxygen. Now, what are the topics that we are going to cover? That water, why water is called universal solvent, cohesion and adhesion property, high surface tension, high heat capacity, and changes in density. These are the topics we will cover while this video. Why water is called universal solvent? We can see easily whenever we add any kind of solute particles in water, we can see that uh, that get dissolved. The reason behind is the sodium ion, like sodium ion, it's having positive charge and it attracts toward the negative charge. Negative charge, here it is oxygen atom. And this one, hydrogen, it carries positive charge and it attracts towards this chlorine. So here sodium attracts towards the oxygen atom which is negatively charged, and here chlorine it attracts towards the positively charged, that is hydrogen atom. And this is the basic reason how solute particles get dissolved in water. Now here cohesion and adhesion property, here you can see this because of this cohesion property, oxygen gets repelled in from each other, and because of this adhesion property, here you can see hydrogen atom it attracted towards this is vessels, and because of this property here enough space and biomolecules means the nutrients inside our body which is required, so it moves easily because of getting lots of space. So this is also a unique property. Now the next one is surface tension. Here because of this hydrogen bonding, here you can see because of this hydrogen bonding, oxygen and hydrogen, it creates tension that on the surface of water, and it is so um, unique. You can easily see the small insects, they can easily move on the surface of water. Now high heat capacity, high capacity because of this hydrogen bonding, it has a capability, it absorbs lots of amount of energy without having any kind of major changes. And because of this unique property, you can see water maintains or doesn't frequently change their temperature. And because of this property, it helps stabilize large bodies of water, and it also helps organisms maintain homeostasis. Homeostasis means temperature, whatever the temperature of an organism is, that will be constant. Okay, so because of this high heat capacity, organisms will survive inside the water. They don't have any kind of problem inside the water. So this is also a unique. Now let's discuss in detail the water molecule, why it is polar in nature. As we discussed or we saw in the previous video, that oxygen and hydrogen, they attract each other and creates one bonding. That bonding is called covalent bond, thus sharing their electrons. So because of that, covalent bond exists in between oxygen and hydrogen. And we know the electronegativity of oxygen is higher than hydrogen. So that is why hydrogen carries positive charge and oxygen carries negative charge. And because of this, it has a polar nature. Okay, so that is why water molecules have polar covalent. Now, we can say in this graphic representation, what is hydrogen bond? Here you can see this is one water molecule, one oxygen, and two hydrogen. So this is one water molecule, and here this is second water molecule. This one is third water molecule. This one is fourth water molecule. So here you can see intermolecule means water. One water molecule it attracts towards second water molecule and via this hydrogen bonding. How this hydrogen bonding exists? Here hydrogen is having plus charge and here you can see oxygen is having negative charge and it creates one bond that is called hydrogen. So again, going into detail that molecules or even different regions of the same molecules fall into two general classes depending on how they interact with water. So water is having like any molecules is having two types of one is called hydrophilic means water loving and another one is called hydrophobic that is water fearing. Water forms hydrogen bond with polar solutes. Hydrogen bonds readily form between an electronegative atom, what we discussed during our previous slides. Usually oxygen and nitrogen and a hydrogen atom covalently bonded to another electronegative atom. So to continue about the chemical bonding nature of water, given the similar electronegativity of hydrogen and carbon, hydrogen atoms covalently bonded to carbon atoms. This carbon attached to hydrogen, almost non-polar, do not participate in hydrogen bonding because as we have discussed that oxygen and hydrogen they are having electronegativity difference, so that is why the reason oxygen carries negative charge and hydrogen carries positive charge, but in carbon and hydrogen there is no any existence of hydrogen bonding. Reason behind is carbon and hydrogen they have equally almost you can say equal charge, so there is no any existence of plus and minus charge. So this is why butanol cs3 cs2 to cs2h has a relatively high boiling point 117 degrees celsius, whereas butane here there is no any existence of OH has a boiling point of only 0.5. So here you can see because of this OH hydrogen bonding boiling point is 170. Here there is no existence of OH group, so here the boiling point is 0.5. Butanol has a polar hydroxyl group and thus can form intermolecular hydrogen. Now, unusual properties of water. Water is called universal solvent, as we saw in the video. The highest heat capacity, conduction of heat, and heat of vaporization because of hydrogen bonding. The highest surface tension of all liquid, again because of hydrogen bonding, as we have seen in our previous video, how small insects they can walk on surface of water. The only substance agreed naturally in all three phases, that is solid, liquid, and gas. Water is the medium for bioactivity that we will discuss during our next slide. So water is an excellent solvent. Definitely, majority of the substance you can see that get dissolved in the water. It dissolves more substance than any other liquid. So that is why it is called universal solvent due to the polarity of each water molecule. Polarity erases hydrogen and oxygen bonding. This helps water dissociate ionic compound into their positive and negative ions. Oxygen carries negative charge and hydrogen carries positive charge. This is what we have discussed. Water has the highest heat capacity just because of hydrogen bonding, conduction of heat, and heat of vaporization. Temperature is a measure of the motion kinetic energy of molecules. You can see when uh, we give fire or heat to water molecules, the upper surface of ions it gets dissociates from hydrogen or hydrogen gets disattached with oxygen molecules, and uh, what is the result? Result is evaporation. So as the motion increases, energy is higher and thus temperature is higher. Water absorbs a great deal of energy before its temperature rises. It requires lots of energy because of this hydrogen bonding. It absorbs maximum amount of heat. Okay, so that is why water needed lots of energy before its temperature rises. The hydrogen bonds in water allow it to absorb and release heat energy more slowly than many other substances. Despite its small molecular weight, as you know, oxygen is having 16 and hydrogen is having 1, so as to it, 18, if you see. Water has an incredibly big boiling point. This is because water requires more energy to break its hydrogen bond before it can then begin to boil. The same concept applies to freezing point. Okay, so what happened during the freezing? Oxygen and hydrogen, they repels each other. Okay, so uh, if you compare or see other molecules where they get dense, so the volume is decreased, but in water molecule it's totally opposite in nature. So this is the reason why ice floats on the surface of water. It is this function of water that why organism modulate a relatively stable body temperature when the temperature in the environment rises and so, water has the highest surface tension of all liquids. We have discussed the reason behind it also. And water molecules, as in our video, we have some the cohesive property and adhesion property. Later, we will discuss in what is the cohesive and adhesion property. So, cohesive and adhesive forces are important for sustaining life. We'll see in our next slide. For example, because of these forces, water can flow from the roots to the tops of plants to feed the plant. So, this is the what we were discussing. This transportation. Because of this transportation, water evaporates from the leaf, okay, and that creates a negative pressures, and because of that what happen, the water molecule, here the cohesion and adhesion property comes, water molecules here, because of this transpiration, waters here transpiration, water continually evaporates from the leaves of a plant into the air. The evaporation causes a negative pressure that draws water through the roots up the trunk and into the leaves, and this one is called the cohesion and adhesion property. Through coadhesion, water molecules move upward by adhering to the water conducting tissue of the trunk. Through cohesion, water molecules connect together like cars on a train and pull each other up the trunk. And then absorption, here you can see in the surface, here the root is there. The upward movement of water through the trunk reduces the concentration of water in the root. Here, concentration of water reduced. And this is the reason why roots, here, these roots, and this is soil. Soil is having water molecule and it get absorbed by these roots because the concentration of water gets reduced just because of this transportation process. Okay. So this is the surface tension, what we have discussed. We can see small insects can move easily because of this hydrogen bonding. Okay. So phases of water. Water is the only substance occurring naturally in all three phases: solid, liquid, and gas. Water is the only substance which in solid phase, that is ice, is less dense. Okay, what we have discussed is less dense than in liquid phase. Water has a maximum density at around 4 degrees Celsius. This is a unique property. Thus, ice floats over liquid water. This allows fish to survive even the top is frozen in rivers, lakes, and oceans because ice can float on the surface of water. And below this, water is there and organisms can survive. Organisms are mostly water, like human body. Our body weight, near around 70% of our body weight is from water. Influences the shape of and function of biomolecules because most of the nutrients and waste products it gets dissolved in water and get removed from our body. The medium of most most of the biochemical reactions occurs when water is present, important for transport of nutrients and waste. Okay, our excretion system, respiratory system. So, water, the waste product get dissolved in this waste product and it get out from our body because of our excretory system. Itself may be a participatory chemical. Yes, true. So, where there is water, there is life. Water is widely regarded as the matrix of life. Definitely, you can see lots of organisms they are surviving inside the water, and those organisms they survive on land. Even they require lots of amount of water. As we have discussed, that 70% of our weight comes from water. So, matrix of life, which is not just a passive scaffold, but also has many active roles in molecular biology. Despite the apparent simplicity of water molecule, water is probably the most mysterious substance in our in our world. So, the oxygen atom of water carries a partial negative charge, and thus water could act as a nucleophile. That is, donates an electron pair to an electrophile in hydrolysis reaction. Water is central to the assembly and three-dimensional shape of proteins and nucleic acids, as well as providing a medium in which enzyme structure and activity is maintained. Water is reacted in many reactions. Nearly 35% of all identified enzymes, namely the hydrolases, and some of lases involve water as a substrate or product. Water molecule locked up in the active site can modulate interactions with substrate and contribute to catalysis. DNA helix expanding and contracting depends on its hydration status. Water hydrates DNA by forming links with the polar atom at the edges of base pair. Most X-ray crystal structure of protein so water molecule in fixed position around the exterior of the protein molecules forming hydrogen bonding network that include hydrophilic groups in the protein main and side chain. So here you can see a brief history of biological water science. Tales of Miletus declares that water is the primary essence of nature. Here you can see this is the time 560 BC and how um, once science gets day by day. There are lots of sophisticated instrument nowadays, and we can check the how life came into existence. And there are many theories that says life originates from water. So this is the brief history you can say here. You can see how time to time there are many scientists they believe and they propose some their conclusion that on what basis and on what ground they are saying that water can we can say that life can start inside the water and it's still continued till like 2005. Scientists are giving lots of they are doing scientists are doing lots of experiment and they come up with some conclusion and after that they give this kind of information that how water is so important on this planet. Cancer cell contain more free water than normal cells, and the degree of malignancy increases with the degree of cell hydration. Thus, intracellular hydration might be a primary factor in carcinogenesis. This could be because increased hydration facilitates the acceleration of intracellular processes, including respiration, which enhances the competitive edge of cancer cells for using nutrients. The invention of the water splitting by photosynthetic organism, that is plant, about 2.5 billion years ago can be considered as the big bang of biology and evolution. It provided biology with an unlimited supply of hydrogen equivalents destined to reduce carbon dioxide to organic molecules. The byproduct of reaction is molecular dioxygen, that is O2, which is the oxygen we and certainly almost all organisms on Earth breathe. This byproduct has given us an oxygenic atmosphere and allowed aerobic biology prosper. If we had an industry based on splitting water just like the plants do, we would solve all energy and global warming problems our world faces today. Here, this is the water scarcity that you can see. Two by third of Earth is covered with water, but here you can see this is the fresh water that we can drink. So you can see a very small amount. So this is reference and the summary of lecture, understanding on water, chemical nature of water, water transportation in plant, biochemical properties of water, and amazing facts. Next lecture we'll see composition of living. Now, question for practice. Why water is necessary as a medium for bioactivity? Differentiate the polar nature of water. Explain the water as a biomolecule in nature. And why water is called a universal solvent. Okay, thank you, students.